repeatedly been told it was an extraordinary day. There was a lot of great things going on. I did get to come in for public comment, and yet again, it was informative, and I'm super proud of the work we're doing here. It is an enormous task, and staff has worked incredibly hard to put together 2 days of training for the Executive Steering Committee, so that as they launch to put these proposals out in the field for responses from interested entities, we thought we needed to share a great deal, talk a lot about community engagement, get to know each other, and part of the process we thought would be great is to have our public hearing, our last public hearing on the subject matter in Sacramento County. Previous to this public hearing, we've been in San Bernardino, Fresno, Oakland, LA,
San Diego.
and San Diego. And so it's pretty exciting to wind up in Homeland and to be able to do it midway through the briefing of the Executive Steering Committee. We've heard a number of promising, optimistic responses from individuals just being highly energized by the makeup of the Executive Steering Committee, and for that, we appreciate it. We're going to do a really abbreviated version of the public hearing, and that is because I recognize a lot of you from being in the room earlier today, and you don't really require a great deal of education on the subject matter. In previous hearings, we kind of rolled out the whole process and talked about who might be on the ESC. You are so in the know, you understand the process, you could name the ESC at this juncture. So what I'm going to do now is ask people on the Executive Steering Committee to do a brief introduction of themselves and their areas of emphasis. So I'm going to start with you, John, and then we'll roll this way. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. My name is John Bowders. I'm the Policy Director at Californians for Safety and Justice. We were the proponents for Proposition 47. I'm a legal aid attorney by trade, worked for over a decade in Chicago as a street outreach attorney for those experiencing homelessness. I now do policy work here, did policy and housing for a while, and I do public safety work. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie James, and I'm the Chief Probation Officer of San Joaquin County. I am have had just the most amazing day today. I'm so excited and honored to be a part of this ESC, and I really feel like we're going to be able to do some wonderful work together as we move forward to really change the way we do business, or the way we've historically done business, and to be able to provide better supports and opportunities to all of our residents in our communities.
Hi, I'm Richard Coons. I'm a Director of Housing for Shasta County. We also oversee Siskiyou, Trinity, and Modoc counties. We have 4 counties in our region. I'm just excited to be part of this process, and obviously my emphasis is in the housing portion of it.
And we're going to skip this illustrious colleague of mine for just a moment because she and I don't say hello quickly. So we'll move on right now. Ricardo?
Sure. Good afternoon, Ricardo Goodridge, one of the staff helping to lead the ESC in the creation of this request for proposal.
Yep. And I'm Ron Lane. I'm Deputy CAO for the County of San Diego, in charge of public safety and responsible for departments like the Sheriff, Probation, Public Defender, District Attorney, and representative people around for effort to implement the second half of Prop 47. We've done the first part. Now with the key is to provide services to the citizens as part of this. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good evening, I'm Christine Brown Taylor. I'm the Reentry Services Manager for the San Diego Sheriff's Department. I'm responsible for all the programming and the reentry efforts in San Diego County and work closely with all of our partners in the community.
Hi, I'm Tom Renfrey, Deputy Director for Substance Use Disorder Services with the County Behavioral Health Directors Association. We represent counties who administer the publicly funded programs for specialty mental health treatment, as well as alcohol and drug treatment and prevention services. So I'm also an advocate for good public policy and more resources for substance use disorder prevention and treatment.
I'm gonna reach to the back row, except I just saw her put a bunch of food in her mouth. Absolutely should be sanctioned for later, will hurt her for eating. Go ahead, Mary.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mary Jones, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Corrections Planning, some Programs Division within the CPT. So my team is helping to assist in the administration of this grant, and we welcome everybody from the public. We're happy to see you here.
And I'm Tracy Cohn, I'm the BSCC Communications Director.
And maybe you could talk a little bit about the live streaming of these meetings.
Oh, yeah, these are live streamed and they're also archived on our website. We have a place on our homepage where you can go back and watch this later or see some of the other meetings that we've held around the state.
Hi, I'm Patty Ferguson. I am an analyst working on the RFP development for Prop 47.
And I'm Eloisa Tuitama. I am also an analyst working, providing the behind the scenes administrative and analytical for this great grant. Welcome.
Great, and then I'm gonna now proudly introduce my colleague, the Executive Director of the BSCC, Katie Howard. And Katie is a tireless advocate for this ESCC and all the work we do here at the BSCC. She's going to do a brief overview of Prop 47. So you, yet again, you're going to have this memorized, those of you who come to all of our meetings, but we're going to do it again for those who may not have the benefit of this.
Thank you so much, Linda, and good evening, everybody. I am Katie Howard. I want to do a very special shout out to all the members of the Executive Steering Committee who have given up a couple more hours of a pretty long work day for the benefit of listening to the public who've come out tonight to share your comments with us. And also thank you to all my colleagues here at the BSCC for the work that went into a really, really, truly amazing day. Wonderful meeting all day long. Many of the members of the audience heard some outstanding presentations today, both from committee members and subject matter experts. We are giving, I promise, a lightning fast overview of Proposition 47 and the BSCC's responsibility. Colleen Curtin was there she is, has collected the comment cards for people who wish to make public comments tonight. It seems like that's a relatively small stack, so we appreciate that. If anybody else would like to come up, just give your card to Colleen, please. And so here is the overview. We've completed the welcome and introductions of the Executive Steering Committee members and staff. We're now on opening remarks and at the BSCC presentation. See how fast that is? We're going to talk about how we'll be taking your public comment tonight. As everybody in this room is aware, back in November of 2014, there was an initiative on the ballot called Prop 47. Its official title is the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. The very, very high level overview is it reclassified various felonies to misdemeanors. Through that, there were state savings. Those state savings, along with some funding that the legislature added this year, will now go into grant programs for prevention and support services for people across the state of California. We're very fortunate here at the Board of State and Community Corrections to have the responsibility for administering that program. And last year in the legislature, there was a bill authored by the former speaker, Tony Atkins, AB 1056, and our Executive Steering Committee member, John Bowders, was instrumental in helping put that bill together. The legislature added some priorities on top of what the voter initiative provided for. So the grant program will look at housing-related assistance, community-based services, job skills, case management, and civil legal services. Addressing some of the how it will be done questions, the AB 1056 added that the grants will be competitively awarded and that both adults and juveniles are eligible for services through these grant programs. This is a long paragraph, but we thought it'd be helpful to just anchor what the law provides in terms of the framework for this process. The grants will go to public agencies, but as I know we will hear from those of you who are here to speak tonight, there's a huge expectation and call for partnerships with community-based organizations for the delivery of services. So these grants will be awarded to public agencies who will work in concert with community-based organizations providing mental health treatment services, substance use disorder services, and diversion programs for people in the criminal justice systems. It talks about the large category of people who might be eligible to receive those services, and it focuses on substance use and mental health issues. As you saw on the previous slide, it also looks at things like housing, job services, and other things that are important to wrap around. The Prop 47 savings are outlined here on this slide. Again, we went over this earlier. Over the course of the budget, the amount that the governor and the Department of Finance determined as the first year state savings by the end of May revised was at 39.4 million. Our organization receives 65% of that funding, 5% goes to administrative costs, so it was 24.3 million. The legislature added another 10, so now we're at about $34.3 million to be awarded in grants this year. Ongoing savings down the road are anticipated to be 62.7 million total, and the part that will be administered by the BSCC will be about 37.6 million. Now turning to the Executive Steering Committee, tremendous diversity on the committee in terms of subject matter expertise and life experiences. We spent the day with that group, and I think most people got to see just how amazing that committee was. This is, Linda's already touched on this. This is the 6th regional meeting that we're having that invites public comment. And this talks about the process through which we formed the Executive Steering Committee. There's the roster. You have to have really good eyesight to see that, but all this information is available on our website, of course. There are 18 members on the Executive Steering Committee. Very nice cross-section of that group is here now to hear your public comments. So here are some more resources on our website, including FAQs, lots of good information there. So now we're ready for public comment. We'll just call up the names and ask you to come forward here to the microphone, and please share with us your name, the organization you represent. If you are representing an organization, of course, it's fine if you're here representing your own views. And then please share with the group what you think the funding priorities should be for Proposition 47. And we will put a timer on asking people to keep their comments to about 2 minutes, or no more than 2 minutes, I guess I should say. And I appreciate those who have neat handwriting. I'll do my best to say your name correctly. So we have, our first speaker will be Joaquin Diaz de Leon from Fathers and Family of San Joaquin. I'll just call a couple names so you'll know who's coming up next. Raymond Aguilar and Alejandro Gutierrez. Those are our first 3.
Hi there, good evening everyone. My name is Joaquin Eduardo Diaz de Leon, and I'm a volunteer with Fathers and Families of San Joaquin, formerly incarcerated. I was actually incarcerated in Fresno when I was 15 years old, and you know, it was really devastating. I've all my life have seen the news, I've seen the politics behind public safety, and it's usually just geared towards incarcerating people. I lived it firsthand. I was immediately placed in detention, and then well on my way to the youth authority. And so it's very superficial how basically it's always been looked at like, you know, someone did a crime, they're horrible, they're wrong, but that's just a part of the problem. I never looked at the root. So the system completely failed to rehabilitate me. I was left to rehabilitate myself. But what I noticed was it was really corrupt within Fresno, and then I went to the California Youth Authority, which was even more corrupt. So I've been able to speak out towards a lot of the corruption, and I was instrumental in getting Preston Youth Correctional Facility shut down because of all the corruption that went on there. And basically, now that I'm out, I'm helping to organize and inform all you folks that you have this position of power, you have the opportunity to be leaders, to actually care about public safety. Because public safety means saving the communities from being victimized from things, because people that hurt people, and their lack of resources allow them to gain a mentality of frustration, which creates them to do crime. So it's gonna save people money when you invest in them, and they become productive like you all are, like you all had opportunities. So these folks don't have opportunities. I didn't have opportunities. So it's really revolutionary, to be quite honest, and to look at the framework behind actually helping us. And CBOs are doing a great job of that. Fathers Family of San Joaquin is one of them. 8 years ago, I got out, I met Sammy, I said, give me a job. He really didn't have something for me. 8 years later, he's doing great, big things and more in abundance. So that's why I'm working with him. And it's really instrumental, the work that is going on. I actually helped Prop 47 get voted for. I did the vote banking down in Fresno for Faith and Community. And it's a real impact because the money will be reinvested towards the community, and it's going to save. One significant saving that I want to put out there is when a police officer gets shot, it's $1 million. If we put some lights in the ghettos, and put some lights in those parks, it's going to be about $200,000 to $300,000. So not only did you save a police officer from dying, but you saved other people from killing each other, because the reality is black and brown killing each other. And we just get locked up, thrown away, and that's it. And it's really sad because you don't know those people's lives, those people's stories are never heard, we're never at this table. And so therefore, I'm glad to be at this table, to speak out, to say, I'm not a stigma, okay? I beat your statistics, quite frankly. And I also want to say that with Prop 47, all those people are non-violent and non-sexual offenders. And I think that Californians, for the safety and community, that they were able to write that proposition. So therefore, those people can get treated because, those people go into prison and there's plenty of drugs there based on the environment, so it's not helping them. So being able to remove the barriers that these people have, ban the box is not enough. Not all those employers are doing that. So it's actually helping to change people's lives. So that's what I mean by revolutionary, that the system that is made, that has been sued and changed its name to give rehabilitation, to stop the overcrowding, to actually partake through what used to be known the California Standards Authority, now the BSEC, to be able to reinvest that money back into these communities is a reinvesting in your fellow constituencies without the state of California to have a safer neighborhood. And for it not to just be the ghettos that only have the reason why we constantly hire police, to not only have the neighborhoods that have the ghettos with nothing but liquor stores and nothing but prostitution and nothing but security cameras, because that's what I see. I see it in Fresno and I see it in Stockton. And so we're trying to break those correlations and we're trying to actually give back. Real quick before I end, I want to also speak out on the fact that there's a huge school to prison pipeline. It's about $5,000 to $8,000 per student in public school fundings per year. And however, if you're incarcerated, let's say Fresno Juvenile Hall or any other juvenile hall, or the California Youth Authority, which chose to change its name to Department of Juvenile Justice, we're talking about up to $100,000. And I think the problem, just to be bold and straight up, is that until society invests more money in public education, it's not going to actually help those people, because kids die or become someone in that classroom. And so until a correctional officer gets paid less than what a teacher is making and there's more investment in schools, I quite frankly see it very difficult for our people that look like me, that have been through what I've been through, to actually grow and develop like you all have. I don't want to take up any much more time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Raymond Aguilar?
Hello.
Hi.
Wow. My name is Raymond Aguilar, and I was a juvenile tried as an adult 26 years ago. I just got out of prison 10 days ago. And I didn't this moment would happen. It's a blessing for me to be out and to be up here among people in society. I didn't know if I was gonna ever get out of prison. I was just I grew up in the foster care system from CPS. I went to youth authority. Left youth authority, I went to CDC in 1991. I felt that the system failed me, that they let me rot in prison. I didn't think I ever had a chance. I grew up with a lot of resentments and anger towards the system. This has always been a passion of mine, a dream of mine, to come here and speak for the other juveniles and the other kids that are being locked up, and basically throwing us in a pool where criminals and the other gang members are at when we are suffering from other problems like mental conditions, drug addiction. Both my parents were drug addicts. And in 1984, I was taken from my parents and was put into child protective custody. My life didn't stop there. Went from, like I said, I was a product of my environment in Stockton. I'm here speaking on behalf of fathers and families. I got out, like I said, 10 days ago, and I was running around. They didn't really know what to do, wanting to find a purpose and a meaning in my life. And I went to fathers and families the other day, and I'm thankful that they've given me the opportunity to come here and feel like I am doing something and giving back to those people that are behind the walls. To those juveniles, to them kids that are out there suffering right now. There are so many kids that are incarcerated and there is no really form of rehabilitation like they're supposed to be. And I wasn't in those programs, and I facilitated programs in there, whether it was vocation, education, self-help. I've done so many things in prison because I wanted to be recognized as somebody that was important. And I wanted to come out here, and I didn't know when I would come out here. Thankfully, laws were passed that allowed me as a juvenile to come out and to now finally come before all you men and women and speak before you. It's a moment that I didn't think would happen. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm thankful for laws that do pass. I remember 10 days ago when I was in prison and didn't know I was going to get out, and I heard about Proposition 47. I said, it's just another law. Just another law that's not going to affect nobody. All it is money in somebody else's pocket. But I started reading and I started studying, and I realized that to pass Prop 47 would put money in education for the mental health, for juveniles that are out there suffering like I was. I was a young juvenile out there running around not knowing what type of direction I was going because my mother was an addict. She was a drug addict. She still is a drug addict. My father was a drug addict. My aunts and my uncles and my grandmother being out of the system. So when my mother came home, a drug addict, strung out on heroin, and when she would get arrested, the cops would come away to the house and they would take her, and then they would take us too. And they didn't put her in a program. They didn't put her in a drug program. They didn't put her in a substance abuse program. They put her in prison. And when they locked her up, they locked me and my brothers and my sister up. And I finally got a chance 10 days later to come out to let you guys know that I'm not that statistic anymore. I'm somebody else that's going to make a difference, whether it's today, tomorrow, or next week. I'm going to do something to show everybody in here that there is change, and change is possible. The Rehabilitation Act can be implemented day by day by each and every one of you people here. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I know that I'm going to do everything I can to make a difference. And I want to thank all you guys for this opportunity that I never thought would come. I'm blessed, I'm humbled, and I hope to be involved in some type of programs like this. This is a rehabilitation aspect for me. This is my rehabilitation. This is my giving back. This is my amends and restitution to all those that I've hurt. So I want to thank all you guys for this opportunity, and I'm blessed. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Raymond.
I think everybody up there would like to welcome you back, and thank you so much. I know that could not have been easy, and it was very powerful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Raymond, thank you so much. I want to mention one other thing. One of the other responsibilities that we have here at the BSCC is connected to a federally required committee called the State Advisory Committee on Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. And we need members on that committee who have the expertise that you do and prior system involvement. So I'd like to ask Tracy if you have your card, or if you can give him my email. We can send you information if that's a committee you'd like to apply to be on. The governor appoints the members, and you have the expertise that we need. So that's something anybody can ask us about too. Happy to get that membership filled out. John?
Thank you.
I just want to add one thing, Raymond. I know we're in public comment, but I'm over here. But thank you for coming today. And one of the great things about the Assembly Bill 1056 that provides some guidance here is that we made it very clear that investments are eligible for juvenile offenders, people who have juvenile records and juvenile involvement. And so I, as a member of this committee, I know several others here who care about that issue, heard you very loud and clear.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, so much. Alejandra Gutierrez?
Good evening. It's really hard to follow that, so I'm going to try. So my name is Alejandra Gutierrez. I work with Fathers and Families of San Joaquin and Stockton. And I want to focus my comment today on the funding that is coming out for victim services. So our organization last year got funds from the Victim Compensation Government Claims Board, the CalVCP, for a trauma recovery center, which is now one of 6 in the state. So the Trauma Recovery Center is supporting victims and survivors of crime through therapy, clinical treatment, as well as culturally rooted healing, intensive culturally relevant case management, among other things. And we understand that there's a lot of funding coming out from Proposition 47 for victim services. And we just really want to urge you all to ensure that as the RFP is being crafted, that it's being crafted in a way that is going to really give an opportunity for the community groups that are really, truly reaching the hardest to reach victims. Our organization and our Trauma Recovery Center is putting a lot of focus on reaching gun violence victims, who oftentimes, and majority of the time really, what we're finding out is that they are actually further criminalized and oftentimes made to believe or kind of think that it's their fault that the crime has occurred. So just to give a few examples, we've had some families who have young men who are gun violence victims, and when it's time to apply for victim compensation, the support is not there because law enforcement is indicating that this young person caused the crime, therefore they're automatically ineligible. And so that's just one of the barriers that we're seeing, that as a TRC, we're truly advocating to ensure that that is not the case, because no one causes this to happen to them. Oftentimes they're just at the wrong place at the wrong time, or oftentimes it just really depends on the neighborhoods and conditions that they grew up in. We also have other families who are victims one day, and a few weeks later their homes are being raided, and mothers are being incarcerated and thrown into jail after losing a son to gun violence. And so we're seeing that oftentimes victims are further criminalized, and the victim services are just not reaching them. They're just not, because the response right now to these victims is, you deserve it, it's your fault, therefore we're gonna, take you to jail, we're gonna lock you up, we're gonna further traumatize you. And so we're really trying to reach those families so that we can end that cycle of violence, first of all, as a public safety method, but also end that cycle of trauma that has been happening for so many generations. Recently, when the Victim of Crime Act funds, the VOCA funds came out, we tried to apply as an organization, and we were unable to, because one of the requirements was to get an operational agreement from our local victim witness, who we're in partnership with, yet they're applying for those funds. So it really makes it difficult for us to apply against them. And so we just really urge you to try to craft this RFP process in a way that's going to make it easier for community groups like ourselves to really make sure that these funds are reaching these groups, because the way that victim services are happening in the state, at least where we're at, it's just not the right way. These funds, the support, the WCP resources that are intended for victims are just not reaching the hardest to reach, specifically the gun violence victims. So just wanted to really tailor my comment on that, and hopefully you can take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pamela Weston.
In 2014, my son left from Turning Point, went to Antioch without medication. He got Obamacare. Without medication, on August 1st, 2014, a train hit him, and he's no longer here. But his children, which are Mexican and black and white, they have a legacy. But there's not a process in place that deals with an audit, that deals with community service projects that pay for community housing. When you deal with people where they're at, things like what happened with my son would have never happened. In Monterey County, we lived in South County, there were Mexican, Turkey, and Oaxaca. So I asked for one of the priorities to be culturally relevant and linguistically appropriate, and to meet people where they're at. That you use innovative community service projects with families that basically you build communities. When we call it Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act, in honor of my son and all the rest of the families that are being affected, especially in Monterey County. When you see the tribe they come from, then you help build things. When we're changing the narrative, as a collectiva de mujeres, we're dealing with Jerry Taylor's card code on the heart and the face. We ask where people come from. We ask what that your role is. Because if you know where people came from, then you can invest in where they're at. My brother, Sean, that had to deal with my son's death and him not being recognized as a young African-American man that did not have his father in his life because his father was incarcerated and using heroin in San Jose, committed suicide on May the 11th. But I'm here before you to ask that this process deals with an audit, it deals with an inclusive thing, because we're all here together. And Maya Angelou talked about, it's not what you say or how you treat people that they'll remember. I mean, it's how you treat them that they'll remember. So in being able to put money into investment that deals with the community service project aspect, then we can build homes, not houses. In Salinas, California, they have an ordinance where they've been bulldozing down people's things that are homeless, and they're dispersed with public works, with nowhere to go. And they cite them, they take their RVs with nowhere to go. So I ask that we can invest in housing through those people that presented today and culturally relevant, linguistically appropriate things where people are at. Because from up here, also auditing and giving access to information and a process that's inclusive, that's the most important thing that would help to change the narrative. Because it's not individual. It's like from where we've been to who we are, what is the standard? The standard is how you build a relationship. In organizing, it's not talking like now, but it's how we follow up into the next generation and how you see everyone that's involved. For Didi that spoke earlier, she came from Chinatown and she knows all the people. They bulldozed everything down and I saw her and I said, let's walk together. We're on a journey that has no destination. It just has an impact. And for the first time, it doesn't deal with your thoughts. It deals with the process. It deals with relationship. Jerry Taylor talks about a burnt tortilla where a grandma cooks. And it's not what that you buy, but it's what that you have, what that you carry. Nobody has a record. They have a name and they have a place. But if you give them an opportunity, remember, if you feed a man a fish, eat for a day. But if you give them the opportunity to build a home, not a house, then families can reunify and we can stop dealing with fear. What I thank you most of all is that you're not leading the process. We will. And whoever puts language in for places like Monterey County will be able to learn what it is and how to do it. And then we'll be able to bring it at the local level. In dealing with audits, information, and engagement. I hope that you won't just stay here, that you'll actually go and walk in the cities and follow up and know the relationships that you already have. And that before you leave today, that you'll remember my son Christopher. Because like I said, without him going to POC, with Obamacare being in place but him not medicated, his sons Nathan and Alfredo and Alexis are waiting for you to make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Denise Coleman.
Hello, hi, everybody, again. My name is Denise Coleman, and I'm from Huckleberry Youth Programs. And as I was sitting trying to think about, how I wanted to say something that was not just something, but that was impactful and relative to what's going on here. I want you to know that I was a crack addict for 13 years. And I never knew why I turned to drugs. And it really had me baffled for a really long time. And it wasn't until I went back to school a few years ago and got my master's in social work, and I learned about trauma. And I had to look back on my life and look at the sexual abuse and the physical abuse and the community violence that was happening around me as a young person, for me to understand why I turned to drugs once I got to a place where I just made that decision. And the program that I work at is a diversion program for young people in San Francisco. And one of the things that we've started doing with these young people is we've started using a trauma tool. And it's been so incredibly surprising, the number of trauma experiences and episodes that our children are facing every single day. One of the questions we ask them is, have you talked to anybody else about this? 95% of those children will say, no one has ever asked me. And I looked back at me and I thought the same thing. I said, no one ever asked me that. It was only because I got myself educated that I had to learn, and I had to relearn a lot of things as a result of that and come to terms and grips with my past experiences. And our case managers really work with these young people and our therapists to try to help them learn how to come to terms and grips with the trauma that they are experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Our young people, I'm baffled because I've been doing this work and I've been with this program for 17 years. 10 years ago, we were seeing 700 kids a year. Today, we're seeing 300 kids a year. But these kids are dealing with so much. They're dealing with an education system for a lot of them that they feel like they don't care about them. They come home for a lot of them. There's nothing to eat. Parents aren't home. They're going to school. They're getting an F in PE because they can't afford to get a uniform. They are dealing, and these are just surface kind of things that I just mentioned. Some of them are dealing with dating violence. Some of them are dealing with being trafficked. Some of them are dealing with substance abuse. They're dealing with some horrific issues. And I say all this to say, and I heard what you said about putting an investment into the juvenile justice system. We've just got to do that. We've got to invest in our kids. Because if we don't, we're gonna lose. Our country's gonna lose, our communities are going to lose, and we're already losing. Our kids are dying every single day. And it's horrible that these parents have to watch their children die right before their faces and eyes. And it's terrible that their brothers and their sisters and their neighbors and their classmates and everybody else have to watch them die too. I went to a school meeting a couple of months ago, and one of the things that they were talking about was the behavior of the young kids in the classrooms. We work with kids 11 and 17, so it's middle school and high school. And they're talking about their behavior, and they can't understand what's going on with a lot of the young people. And then sometimes they'll get information from their classmates like, oh, his brother just got shot. And that's why he's behaving like he's behaving. And the school, they just don't have the resources, they really don't, to deal with all of the situations and the problems that are happening with our young people. So please, as you consider the tons and tons and tons of things that you're gonna have to consider, and I know that diversion is on your list, and thank you for that, because a lot of these kids are getting arrested because of the trauma that they're experiencing, and they don't have any place else to turn. So they turn to what they know best. And we're filling a big void for them as case managers, because we're filling that void of being a responsible, reliable, dependable parent or co-parent with integrity, that's going to be honest with them, that's gonna keep it real, and we're not gonna, excuse my language, put no sugar on the shit. You know, and it just has to be that way for them, because people have been perpetrating a fraud with these young people for a long time. And so we've got to be real. The case management piece is super important, following up, following through, and being held accountable. You know, all of us as programs, as getting funded by a variety of people, have to be held to a higher standard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, may I make a response on what I, thank you. I just wanted, something that's not discussed here today, but your comments just elucidated that I think is important for the members of the audience to also know. Thank you for being here and speaking on an issue, the juvenile issue, and the need to fund these services. And, you know, my friend here from Fathers and Families in San Joaquin, and his group is here as well. I just think it's important maybe to say something we didn't say at the outset about Prop 47 funding. The Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act funds 3 different programs. 65% of the money is here at the BSCC for these grants and these investments in communities and community-based services. 10% of it, as Alejandra and a couple other people noted, goes to some of the programs funded at trauma recovery centers that really helps heal people with deep wounds. But the other piece that we haven't mentioned is 25% of the money goes to the Department of Education for dropout, truancy prevention programs after school. So the non-criminal justice type of diversion, where kids who don't have those opportunities to succeed in school, who live in communities that are disinvesting in that educational opportunity for them, that's there too. And the most important part of Prop 47, why I want to be at this table so badly, is the implementation. It's great to pass a law, but it's a different thing to implement it. And so this is a great space to be where we're at now, but it's really important for those who are here who care about the juvenile issues as well to be present when the Department of Education starts its grant process as well, because there's a lot of money there for those same things. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Sam, do you want to say something?
I did want to respond, if I may, Madam Chair. Thank you so much. Thank you, John, for pointing that out. And I'd like to actually also echo the fact that you know, that's really smart investment on the front end. But at the same time, I would ask us to recall the conversation that we're having before we broke, where our chair was talking about upstream issues. And that's one of them as well, that we should be considering, is that oftentimes the schools do not allow formerly incarcerated parents to be on campus with their children and have an over-reliance on campus police, on actual police to deal with really what is normal childhood behavior from traumatized children. And so I think that that's where this is where I want to also remind us that Prop 47 is not about criminalizing children, reclassifying adults, and criminalizing children, creating a pipeline into incarceration to fill those same bed cells, beds up in prison. And so I think it's really important that we kind of contemplate those kinds of barriers, structural barriers that are going to exist when parents are trying to reconcile, reunite with their families, because a lot of the parents coming home are doing that. So I would just take that that investment just for the sake of investing and throwing money at a system is not going to solve a problem. It could actually perpetuate a different problem somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chris Bulkley, do I have that pronunciation right?
My name is Chris Bulkley. I'm the Supervising Deputy District Attorney for our Restorative Justice Program in Yolo County. Our homeless program, the majority of our participants have suffered prior incarceration at the state or the local level. The majority of them have substance abuse issues involving methamphetamine. Many of them have mental health issues. Many of them lack job skills or job training to be successful. One of the biggest problems we have with that population is trying to use a housing first philosophy where we can actually get them off the street quickly and then provide the wraparound services. So having options which provide funding for housing is really important. Without the housing, they don't make their appointments. they don't show for the treatment, they don't follow through. So getting that housing, getting anchored so they can be successful. The other aspect is using a restorative justice program where you get the community involved with that population. A lot of them have fallen into a hole they can't find their way out of it. And so having community members engaging them in groups or one-on-one to show that they care, to encourage them to be successful is also important. And as far as the juvenile issue, our regular neighborhood program does have transition age youth, 18 to 25, going through it. And a large portion of those youth are floundering in life. A lot of them didn't graduate from high school. They don't know how to get a job. They're trying to figure that out. And if we're going to be successful with that group and prevent them from going into the criminal justice system and getting more engaged in there, we need to have programs that lead them to successful employment so they can be housed and they have hope. Without hope, they're not going to be successful with the homeless or this group. So I'm hoping that in the funding request that you put out, that there will be options to fund these types of programs with community involvement, using restorative justice, which focuses on the harm to the community, the victim, and the offender themselves, so they can move forward in a productive way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, and this is the last card that we have, I'm going to do my best on the first name. Is it Hagada Chambers?
In Espanol.
You're going to tell me the right way to say your name. Jagada? Just tell
I'll
us.
take that guy.
Bilingual today, brother.
Just tell her she was wrong.
Tell her she messed it up.
I messed up already, sorry.
No,
Excuse me, my name is Jagada Chambers. I'm actually the Voice of Men of Color movement builder for Fathers and Families in San Joaquin. 3 years ago, I was an award-winning journalist in the Central Valley, part of a team that I was dedicated to, and my primary focus was providing quality scrapbooks for kids. That's all I wanted to do was capture those moments. But as I was approaching 10 years out of incarceration, I knew that my purpose was to try to help. I wrote a novel during my incarceration, and I knew it had no substance until I stayed out 10 years. As I approached 10 years, which was 2014, I got the novel, by the grace of God, I got the novel published, and it kind of started my journey. My journey led me to Samuel Nunez and Fathers and Families. I know for a fact I'm changing lives. The first step that I had to do personally, I was a good kid, I was on spring break, and I made a bad mistake, and I had to go to prison for over 1,900 days for that mistake. But I knew, like Sammy, his mother was waiting on him. My mother died in my first year. I had to grow up right now. Why am I here? And that's what that novel was about, being real. I had to understand what mistake I made, why I was drinking, what led all the way to that. And as now I'm helping our youth, now I'm helping AB 109 guys. This works. When they see me, they have hope. When they see Sammy running the whole ship, they have hope. So when the funding needs to be in the appropriate hands. We have a fabulous relationship with our probation department. I consider her a mentor to all of us. The relationships that we have in Stockton, we shouldn't be in the plight that we're in. The relationships are there, the change is coming. We'll be the example of how to spend this money. I'm telling you, we'll be the example. Trust in the CBOs. I trust God, and God is always going to give me confirmation. Confirmation I'm in the right place is in 2014 recidivism rate 11.4, 2015 11.1. We're down to 10.8 now. We have a vision in 10 years to be under 6%. Right. We need a shot. That's the proof. Look at that recidivism rate. Look at the testimonies of the people who are getting the medicine. That's all I have to say. You guys have a great night.
Thank you. I'm going to let you, but I'm kind of angry about the ice cream cone situation.
I just like a few things I have to say without the tears. I'm just really emotional today because, like I said, Pop 47 means a lot to me because it gave me an opportunity at another life. I was down there in Chinatown for about 25 years, making one bad decision after another. I finally got tired. I ended up going. I got arrested like the other brother said, he got rescued. And I'll never forget Officer Silver. When he took me to jail, he told me, he said, I know you can do better. Give yourself a chance. I tried Prop 36, it didn't work for me. I ended up in drug treatment court. I went to outpatient, that didn't work for me. So I went into residential. In residential, I met Pam Weston, who's one of the ministers at my church. She introduced me to the collectiva. So now I'm in transitional housing with Dorothy's Place, which is another homeless agency that helps people, you know, get back on track. They didn't want to give me a chance because for a long time I was part of the problem in their community. I was the one that they seen running around there selling drugs and fighting and drinking and doing all this very abusive and destructive behavior and everything. But during the time that I went to Door to Hope, they gave me different tools and different ways of looking at life, you know, and then knowing that I now have a chance to go back into the workforce because I was no longer a convicted felon, you know, it just opened up my eyes. You know, today I passed a couple of job opportunities because my passion is helping other people get the opportunities that I have. So today I work as a Prop 47 analyst for the collectiva. I'm also a community liaison. I mentor other women. I go back to the residential treatment program that I graduated from, which is Door to Hope in Salinas, California. And I just want to say one more time that I really, really, really appreciate each and every one of you. You know, there's a lot of other people out there like me that didn't think they had a good shot at nothing. I thought that my life was going to end in Chinatown and that my grandkids weren't going to get to see me. You know, but those are my other two, you know. Grandma, we want to go too. So since their brother was with me on Dad treated them the ice cream. You know, and those are the gifts that have been restored to me. Because when I was out there drinking and using and going in and out of prison and misusing myself and others, I didn't have the opportunity, have the money to buy them a $2 ice cream. That $2 is a priceless memory that my grandkids will have the same type of memories that I have of my grandkids. You know, so I really encourage you guys to disperse some money in areas that will help people regain their self-respect and their self-confidence and show that, you know, we made our mistakes and we have the ability to change. Thank you.
Ice cream for everyone, right?
I appreciate everybody's remarks. These hearings are always very powerful, and we hear from people with enormous needs that have overcome incredible barriers, and I'm optimistic about where we're headed. I'm afraid because I think we have many needs and not enough money, but it's a good start. And all we can say to you is we're committed to doing the best we can. I think we have the right people at the table. And so we too close this meeting tonight with hope. And I appreciate the participation of the ESC. As you can see, it's a heavy lift. I'm sure you're gonna lay awake tonight and go, how are we gonna do all this with this? But I think we have the right group organized. So thank you all. Anybody want to make a closing comment, or can I adjourn? We're gonna adjourn, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.